Do I have a favorite story about the Bible? I'll tell you a cool story. Tuesday mornings, I work at the homeless mission downtown, and when I met this guy, and he was just a cool guy, and he worked down there, and I had always done a ton of charity stuff with kids with cancer and Wounded Warrior stuff, and this guy worked at the homeless mission, and he said, come down and have lunch with me. And of course, my first thought is, okay, what do you want? Do you want money from me? Do you want a free show? You know, do you want me to do your radio ads? And he's like, no, I just want you to come have lunch. And so, and I'm kind of ashamed to say here that I never really had a heart for homeless people. I mean, you know, I'd give them money at the corner, but I just wasn't invested in it. So I go down there, and we're sitting there having lunch at the mission, and this kid comes and sits down. He's like 22 years old. And my buddy Joshua, he says, Jason, tell him your story. Because I'm looking at him going, how are you homeless? You're 22, you know? And he said, well, when I was 10 years old, my mom killed herself. He said, well, next year my brother killed himself. He said, it's just me and my dad, and we were doing okay. And he said, my second year of college, my dad killed himself. And he said, I just got tired of hurting. Just kind of wanted to be numb. And so I started getting high and smoking crack. And that's how I ended up on the street. And as I'm listening to the story, I'm going, dude, I would have started smoking crack too. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, I could be him. I mean, but for the grace of God, if I lived that life, I could be him. And so Joshua, my buddy, and I went down there and had lunch a couple of times. And finally one day he said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. And I thought, here it comes. He's going to ask for the money. He said, I want you to lead a small group Bible study for some of these guys. And I'm thinking, really, out of all the people on the planet, you're asking me to do this? But I agreed to do it. So I show up that first Tuesday, and I couldn't get them to talk, because if they had ever been to church, you don't participate. You sit there and listen. And so I learned early on, okay, I got to come up with questions. So the second or third week, my question was, what is the Bible? And all I was trying to get out of them was that unlike any other book, that it was alive, that different things talk to you at different times. As an example, I opened mine up to Romans, and I had like 7 different color highlighter pens. I said, okay, so at some point I've been on these 2 pages, and 7 different times something else spoke to me. And one guy said, well, it's just a book of rules. And my buddy, Chicken Man, who goes down there with me, he said, really, it's just a book of rules. It's just a book. And there was a trash can, and Chicken Man slid it in the middle of the floor, and he took his Bible and he threw it in the trash can. It was just a hush in the room. And nobody was comfortable with it. And this great big guy, Wayne, gets up and he goes over there and he pulls that Bible out of the trash can. He said, Chicken Man, don't do that. And Chicken Man said, well, if it's just a book, why would that bother you? And Wayne said, let me tell you a story. He said, my mom died several years ago. He said, and when she died, I got $70,000 in life insurance from her. And he said, I'd never had a wad of money like that. He said, and I lost my mind. He said, I got 2 girlfriends, and we start partying night and day. He said, but because you're partying night and day, you quit going to work. When you quit going to work, you lose your job. He got fired, lost his job, quit paying his rent. He gets kicked out of his apartment. He said, so I got all my possessions in 4 or 5 suitcases and a couple of backpacks. He said, and the only thing that I owned from my mom was my Bible from when I was a kid. He said, and on the inside page, my mother had written me a love letter when I was a kid. He said, but we are drinking, we're smoking crack. He said, and I don't have a place to live, so we go over to the west side of town, and we're in these cheap motels, and the party's rolling night and day. We're smoking crack and having a big time. He said, but as we're bouncing from hotel to hotel, I keep losing my stuff. He said, and at one point I realized that I've lost that backpack that had that Bible, the only thing I had from my mom in it. He said, but the party keeps going, we're smoking crack. He said, several months down the road, of course, the money runs out. He said, the day after the money ran out, the girls left. He said, so now I don't have a job, I don't have an apartment, I'm a crack addict, and I'm on the street. He said, I'm on the street bumming money so I can get high for 1.5 years. One day this guy comes along, and he said, I got a job for you. He said, I guess I did a good job, because a week or so later, same guy shows back up. He said, you did a good job last time, so I need you and another guy to help me do something. He said, and there was another homeless guy reading a newspaper, and he thought, hey, if he can read, he's smart. So he got the 2 of us, and he said he took us in his car over 100 miles away from Atlanta. He said the guy had bought an old apartment building, and he wanted to kind of gut it out and renovate it. rent the apartments. He said, so we clean out the ground floor together. He said, and on the second floor, he said, the other guy's up there kind of sweeping everything up, putting it in trash bags, dropping them out the window. He said, I'm getting the trash bags and walking them down to the corner to the dumpster. He said, and this goes on for a couple of hours till he quits dropping bags, and I figured he's done. He said, so I go up there, and he said, he's done a good job of cleaning up the second floor. It looks good. He said, except there's a pile of stuff in the corner. And he was like, dude, you missed the stuff over there. And he said, no, that's stuff that I found and cleaning up that might be worth something. So Wayne says he goes over and he starts looking through the stuff, and there's a book down there at the bottom of it. And he reaches down and he picks up the book and he opens it, and there's the love letter from his mom. It's his childhood Bible. A year and a half later and 100 miles away. And he said, I fell down to my knees and just started sobbing. He said, and I thought, okay, if God is chasing me this hard, I'm going to stop running. And that's why you can't throw it in the trash can. Wayne has been off of drugs for 3 years. Wayne now has a full-time job helping guys transition from the street back into life. And so, I mean, it is more than a book. There really is life in there for people, and even people like that who've kind of given up hope, at having life. So is it important enough to do a show about it if it makes somebody be interested in it? Yeah. I would love to hear your answers, too. So share your comments and answers here, and be sure to check back as we tackle another question.